This exercise is going to work on your hip internal rotation strength, which tends to get neglected a lot in traditional fitness training. You're gonna need a yoga block, and then I'll show you a couple different setups that make this a little bit more intense or a little bit less, depending on where your level is. So you are going to set up with your bottom leg in the front so it's out of the way. I like to keep it bent at 90 at the hip and knee just to keep things standard, but you can put it in whatever position's comfortable. The top leg, you want to elevate on a yoga block. The higher up it is, generally speaking, the more challenging it will be because you'll be in a higher level of hip abduction or your end range of motion. You want to make sure that your lower leg is free to rotate. If you have a lot of hip external rotation, your ankle should hit the ground. So that is what we want to look at from here. You can also go a little bit lower if you don't have as much mobility. That's also fine too, but I tend to like to do this to allow my ankle to drop down and get as much range of motion and work for my hip rotators as possible. Now, I am in a challenging starting position. This is where I generally start most people if they can. We also want to make sure your hip and thigh is not just all the way in front of you. We kind of want it in a straight line here. I generally like to start people up here if they can, and all we're thinking about is rotating this thigh down where your heel pops up. We want to keep the knee pinned to the yoga block, but we're really going to feel the hip rotators here. Now, to make this a little bit less challenging, if you're like, I'm cramping so bad I can't get very far, we can just drop down. You might have to move the yoga block a little bit. And then from here, now you are not in as much hip abduction and you can do the same movement where we are just rotating your thigh into hip internal rotation. And you want to spend a good second at the top range of motion, really squeezing and finding those muscles and slowly controlling it down. We want to make sure we're not hiking the hip and rolling our whole body forward to compensate, or we're not pointing the ankle or straightening the knee. We really want to isolate hip rotation. Generally speaking, for this exercise, I will have people go until failure or a lot of reps until we can feel a good burn or cramping in the hip muscles, because I tend to use this as a hip finisher. So you're going to do whatever your program has prescribed for you, but those are the setups. That's how to make it a little bit easier or harder. Over time, you might want to add ankle weights. You might want to progress to a different exercise, but you'll definitely want to try to progress the reps, the time where you are in the end positions, and the positions that I showed you, so that you are slowly getting your body stronger over time and not just doing the same thing over and over. And that's how you're going to see a lot of progress with your hips.